What's up, everybody? Okay, so I just recorded for like about half an hour. I call it filming. I just recorded for like half an hour the same video, but I felt like I got things a little out of order, and in addition to not researching like enough, I didn't write down the sort of topics I would bring up. So I want to go a little faster in this video, and this video is basically about me differentiating one group of things in my mind, as far as me learning and like education and whatnot. And I wanted to share with you, with whoever's watching, the viewers, these topics. So like four main groups, and let me show you, and I'll try to go a little quicker. So the first group is like books and literature and reading, and plays, things of the sort. So I've been to London way in the past. When I had graduated from UCLA, I was like 21 years old, and I flew to see my uncle who was living in Munich, in Germany. And then he encouraged me to travel around Europe, and one of the cities that I went to was London in the United Kingdom. And unfortunately, I didn't get to see more of the United Kingdom, the nation, which I have a very fond memory of, and a great deal of interest in exploring more. But I'll get into those details eventually. But so you can probably guess if I say plays and my overall favorite playwright. So I like The Crucible is a very good book in my opinion, a very good play in my opinion. It's one of the best that I've read. These are mainly from high school, but The Crucible, Arthur Miller, I really enjoyed. Tennessee Williams, I enjoy overall. A Streetcar Named Desire, I really enjoyed. And behind me, you can see in my closet, I had like around like 180 books. Like I guess I had almost one book for every nation which is on earth at the moment, like approximately, and in the past, almost exactly, but not on purpose, unintentionally. Though whenever I read some of the books or like plays or whatnot, I sold them to like a value bookstore, which at one point for like a very large dictionary and like I think 4 books, including like The Crucible, Arthur Miller's The Crucible, I think I got like 23 cents for like 5 of those books. So, really great deal. But I didn't spend like $2 like gas money driving to the value bookstore. It's just like approximately right next to where I get drinking water for the house. So yeah. So like I would bring the books. Like I've done that I think 2 or 3 different instances so far, and I haven't been progressing with reading as quickly as I need to. My original plan was to read the physical like largest book which I have, down in order down to the physical smallest book I have, 1 book a day. Though I'm still making progress. I'm not going to stop, but I have different goals at the moment which take priority. So I'm just giving less of my days to reading. So anyways, I wanted to show you my favorite playwright. So yes, okay, I'll begin with I have 9 of his plays, and I've been to the theater which he built, hint hint, in London, and I've also been to a different theater in London which I believe is the Royal National Theater. I forget. I have a really bad memory. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be so I don't mean to make so many mistakes or like have so many memory lapses, but and I don't like to research everything ahead of time and prepare a video. I like to just sort of go with the flow. But anyways, so the amazing William Shakespeare is who I wanted to show you the books which I have the plays of. So I have Hamlet. Let's see. Oh no, I don't want these all to fall down. So I have Hamlet. I have Othello. This copy of Julius Caesar I bought like right on the Thames River, by a man who was like selling. He had like a little table with many books, and he was selling, I guess, plays or like little books by the Royal National Theatre. I forget the name, but so I've been to the Globe Theatre and then Royal National Theatre in the United Kingdom in London, and I've been to a playhouse on, like, I guess on Broadway, off Broadway, in the United States, in New York City, like Manhattan. So I've been to, as an adult, I guess 3 very important locations as far as theater goes. But anyways, so I love this book. I love Marlon Brando when he plays Mark Antony in the movie Julius Caesar. So there's this. I haven't, I think I've read like half of Othello. I've read Hamlet. I've read Julius Caesar. I think I've read half of Othello, or like the full play. This book, though, the 4th book, which I believe Al Pacino has played, one of the major characters, I think Shylock. I hope I'm not mixing this up, but I have not read this play, The Merchant of Venice, which I'm really excited to read. Haven't read The Taming of the Shrew. Oh shit! Oh no. Okay, I have where I bought the books. Okay, so Romeo and Juliet, I have read. A Midsummer Night's Dream is the play which was at the Globe Theatre, which I bought a ticket to, and I was in the audience. I wasn't able to get one of the like groundling on the floor level where they're standing, like places. I got like a really on the side of the play, and I couldn't really see what was going on, but I think the actors, the players were really good from what I could tell, even though I didn't watch the whole thing and I left a little early. But really beautiful place, the Globe Theatre. So yes, I have not read, I should be covering this up. I have not read King Lear. Did I show you 2 copies of King Lear? No way. Okay, yeah. And I have also only read the very, very beginning, though I have not read Macbeth. Okay, so those are 9 plays, which I could easily read in like a week if I wanted to. Because, plays are like a little faster in terms of what you would read. But 9 plays by my favorite playwright. That might sound like, this might not be the right word, but like it might sound cliche, but William Shakespeare to me is like really amazing. And in high school, I wrote like a, I don't know what you call it, like a monologue for one of my English classes for Hamlet as a character. And I thought I did like a really good job. I think my English teacher, she thought I did well. I think so. From her response, she read it out loud for me because I was like really anxious, and I had like social anxiety, and I was like nervous back then especially. But I really liked Hamlet. As I've gotten older, I like Romeo and Juliet more and more. Othello's great, very important. I think Othello's very important to understand for what happened since Shakespeare was alive. Because if we talk about race, if we talk about things like having a wife or like marriages, those things, and like jealousy, those things come up a lot, like envy. So what else was I gonna bring up? I should read King Lear, but let me see. Oh, okay. So The Merchant of Venice, I just care so much about Al Pacino as an actor, and I want to watch him play because I've seen Marlon Brando play Shakespeare in a movie, Julius Caesar as Mark Antony. I love when he does like the Friends, Romans, Countrymen, and I think I forget what it's called, but okay, I'm gonna like butcher this. I'm sorry, and he says the word butcher, but Let's Slip the Dogs of War, I guess, is possibly like how you would phrase the monologue, also from Julius Caesar. But yes, of course, we know, To Be or Not to Be from Hamlet, and many individuals should know To Be or Not to Be, the monologue. And of course, Juliet saying in Romeo and Juliet, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? So anyways, brought up these 9 plays and those like I guess like 160 books I have left or so. Anyways, so yeah, in the future I want to be talking more about books that I read. I had looked up what I believe is called on YouTube BookTube, so I want to do that. And I should mention I will be flying to Europe within not as many weeks as you might imagine for my next trip overseas out of the continent, internationally, but also off the North American continent into Europe. And I'm really excited, but I wanted to mention, like, academically, I'm interested in reading, and I need to read more. So that was like the first topic. Okay, so moving on to topic 2, the Christmas presents I'm hoping you viewers will get me. Okay, just a joke, but the Christmas presents I want are 4 advanced university degrees. So I have them written down, and they're not really in order of how much I care about them because I like all 4 very much. But I want to eventually talk about like what a PhD in history means to me, or like more about history. History and linguistics, PhD in linguistics, an MD degree, and a PhD in physics. Those 4 degrees are, they would make me the like unhappiest guy on earth for not having gotten them earlier. Just kidding. But so yeah, I guess I'll discuss those things in the future more so as I do more research, and as I learn more, and as my mind is able to grasp what they entail better, or what those subjects entail better, or what those degrees entail better. So anyways, the third topic that I wanted to bring up. Okay, so we're looking at the moment when I'm recording this video, we're looking at the war between Israel and the US versus Iran. And there are issues, I don't want to get into politics, but there are issues like proxy warfare. Let's talk history. In history, there's been the boogeyman for like many, I'd say centuries at the least. You could say millennia because of like it's been like a couple of millennia, but for many centuries, or like through the centuries, there have been the boogeyman. I'm a very big Europhile. I love Europe. I love Asia as well. I haven't been to Africa, Australia, South America, and I've only been to the United States. I was born in the United States, so I'm an American, but I haven't been to any other country in North America, which is a shame. But I might go to like Vancouver, Canada soon enough. I just have to save up a little bit of cash, get the money situation straightened out, and get on an airplane. It's just, I was looking at the like Airbnbs and like the hostels, and I didn't look at hotels yet, but like the different options I had, it's like the airplane ticket isn't bad, but like the I guess the temporary housing situation thing, is like really kind of expensive for what from what I was guessing it would be, from what I was guessing the situation, or the dollar amount would be. But so anyways, I'm gonna be going to Europe again, and I'm a Europhile. I've been to the continent of Europe more on like more different trips, like not like just like one trip or something, but like on more different airplane flights. I've been to different nations, and like repeatedly to some nations. I've been to countries in Europe more than any other continent. So more than Asia and more than North America. And I've only been to 3 continents so far. But I guess I'm going back again to Europe, and I might go to 2 nations, it's possible, instead of just 1, instead of like a single nation. Anyways, so yeah. There's been this thing with the West for many centuries, expanding or like attacking towards the East. But Europe, I think, is a very strong continent in terms of the humans which live there, the different nations. They have amazing architecture, they have amazing history. Unfortunately, they have a lot of war also. And I don't want to bring up like a lot of death, but there's been genocide. So The thing though is, as far as history, I don't have the best grasp on like Eastern empires or like Southern empires, but like to the east. So like Turkey and to the east, sort of. I don't have a great grasp, even though like I have a Bachelor of Arts in History, where I graduated summa cum laude, and I had like college honors on my bachelor's degree, and I had a very like high GPA. But my history major and political science minor haven't been enough so far for me to understand like some of the boogeymen, which are like these like Eastern and sort of Southern, usually, not always, in like very famous cases, empires which expanded or tried to expand and had various degrees of success, moving into Europe. And you know how far they were able to extend their empire in terms of geographic reach, in terms of battle victories, and things like that. And I'm not encouraging expansion of like Eastern empires into Europe. And you know, I am American born, I speak English, I care about, like I said, I'm a Europhile. So, you know, I like Europe a lot. And I'm interested, but one of the reasons also has to do with linguistics, because it seems like around Germany, Poland, but let's say Poland, and Polish, I believe, from my research, if I'm saying this correctly, is also, so my uncle's wife is a Polish woman, and one of my cousins, like a single one of my cousins, he was born in Poland. So yeah, so like Middle Eastern Polish is what a couple of my cousins are, two of them. So yeah, but I'm interested in Polish as a Western Slavic language, or like a West Slavic language, if I'm getting the exact terms incorrect, and almost the leftmost on the map, but almost the Western extent. I think Czech is the furthest west, which in terms of like nations today and their like national language sort of thing. I think Czech is the furthest west of all Slavic languages and the West Slavic languages, but Poland I think is like the biggest. And 16, I don't even know how to say this. I completely butcher words at some instances. I keep saying butcher. But so 16 voivodeships, which I guess means like provinces or states, is what Poland has. Very interested eventually in learning Polish. They have essentially the Roman alphabet, I think, with like 32 letters, with those, is it diacritics, or I forget. I need to memorize better. But I'm interested in Polish, but at the moment, like I made a video, I'm going to be working on Malay, which is an Austronesian language used in, spoken in essentially Indonesia, Malaysia, Brunei, and Singapore at the moment. So I'm going to continue with the Austronesian group for a while, but I'm also eventually interested in Polish. And some of these empires have have extended toward and, you know, had battle victories or like losses around Poland, which is very important in my understanding. But also the use of like influence on what I consider some might say is like a union, but I think was like an empire of sorts. Anyways, so let me bring up the 7 examples, and I'm going to remove 1 and leave you with a total of 6. Okay, so because one of them is a little unfair at the moment, and they're undergoing, I'll just bring it up. It's the Jews, and they're undergoing a process, in my opinion, of a Exodus 2, or like a second Exodus, following what had happened in Egypt with like the first Exodus, and now an Exodus from a different population. I don't want to talk about like Noah's sons or anything, but following what happened with the Holocaust. And I think this is just an opinion, but Jesus Christ was of the first westward moving from the east and from the south, one of the, if not the first individual so not one of, but the first individual who moved from the east to the west after Achaemenid Persia, so like the second group, but he was like the first individual within the Jews. So he was just a Jew, and I think he went a little too early, but he had moved against the Romans early on. And the Jews continued the westward movement into Europe, and unfortunately we have like many pogroms, we have the Holocaust, we have many different issues of the sword, and like things like talking about, what was it called? Like blood libel, like Jews drinking blood or like killing babies or something like this. Sort of like witch trial sort of scenarios. But because the movement of the Jews into Europe was, in my opinion, more of a civilian and religious movement to, sort of like mix genome or like spend time within Europe, within an area or within like a continent which was expanding, the different humans there were expanding and would continue to, and I think the Jews were aware of this. I'm going to remove the Jews from this list, but I do believe the Jews were an empire. One of the leaders, a single of the leaders, was Jesus Christ when he went into Jerusalem, and unfortunately, according to, so I don't want to bring up like the Muslim and Christian, or like Muslim, Jew, Christian, and let's add Buddhist to make everyone calm down. But I don't want to bring up the different, what happened in reality, what the factual reality was, what the religious reality was. But I believe Jesus Christ was like a leader, a human, a prophet, and a Messiah to me. And I don't want to take this individual lightly because I care very much about him. But he was one of the first to move forward from the east to the west into Europe, and he did lead the Jews, and he did begin the process, in my opinion. But yeah, so there was the Holocaust within the past 100 years. So just to set this aside, and there was like the Armenian genocide preceding the Holocaust, and there's been a lot of Middle Eastern suffering and genocide and death. So I'll leave that off the list, even though I'm talking like nonstop about this issue. Okay, so the 6 remaining, what I call empires, were, so before the Jews, there was Achaemenid Persia, where, so Iran today is different than what Persia is, because Persians are like a group of humans. And they're different than what Iran is, because there are many different groups of humans in Iran at the moment, at least, unless something, unless something like drastic happens which changes this reality. But so the Persians, there's in the Bible, I think, Book of Hosea. Did I say Hosea? Book of Isaiah, and I'll stop. There's more though. Book of Isaiah, where Cyrus the Great of Persia was, I guess, you could say, in a sense, he was an unbeliever of God, but he was, I guess, anointed is the word, which was really important. I don't know if that makes him also a type of messianic figure or like Messiah, but for freeing the Jews from the Babylonian captivity, and so also helping the Jews to return to what is essentially Israel, and the rebuilding of the Second Temple. I think I heard a professor say with Persian gold and with Egyptian architects, which I thought was interesting. I just heard this on YouTube, so I didn't do like too much research on this. But yes, so Achaemenid Persia would be the first movement as they continued into I guess Anatolia, like Turkey today, and there were like Greek city-states preceding the rise of the Persians in I guess Western, what is Turkey today, and obviously in Greece. But there was the expansion, or the attempted expansion, into Greece, and we see the King Leonidas the First of the Spartans, I guess the Peloponnese, the Athenians, the Battle of Marathon, Alexander the Great. I might be skipping through a lot. But yeah, so also sort of around the instances of when we hear about Herodotus, and we're talking about history, and like Aristotle, and one of like among my favorites, Aesop, who I believe was like a slave and a writer in Greece, and he wrote The Tortoise and the Hare, and among many other fables, I guess. So we have the Persian expansion, the failed expansion into Greece, and then Alexander the Great returns and conquers almost, I guess, toward. Okay, I'm sorry if I don't have this exactly correct, but almost towards like Pakistan, I think, or is it Afghanistan, or like into India, before he ends up passing away. So, anyways, so first the Persians, and I'll go a little quicker. I hope I'm doing this in correct order. Skipping the Jews, you know, it's too much of a heated issue at the moment. But then the Huns. So, you know, we talk about like Attila the Hun, and I believe they were from, I have to double check, but north of the Caspian Sea on the east side, I think, is where they began, those individuals began. I'm not sure, I'm really sorry. But so it's like the Huns, we have the Arabs. So we talk about like Muslim armies, but the Arabs reaching like across the Arab Empire, reaching as far as like from the east to the west. We talk about across northern Africa and into the Iberian Peninsula. I guess what is Spain and Portugal today? Let's say Spain. So, which is really important. It influences language and many other different historical facts. But okay, so this is where I wanted to start studying more, because I have like even less knowledge of this like very clear lack of knowledge, which I have. So the Mongolian Empire, which I believe reached close to Vienna, Austria, and into Poland, as far as like some battles which were won. I think the Golden Horde, if I remember correctly, was like in Russia or like closer to Russia. But like I said, I want to learn about these historical facts. I'm not intending to like teach, but I like to make videos, so I'd like to discuss with you all who view. Anyways, so later still, the Ottoman Turks, which I believe they also, if I remember correctly, I have a bad memory, but they also got close to Vienna in Austria, but their influence was especially felt, I think, or still is, into the Balkans. Okay, and then the sixth and final so far of the empires, what I consider to be empires, and I will develop more knowledge and more factual grounding, and a better amount of reading about the topic, at least from Wikipedia at the very least. But some might say that's not enough, but it's a beginning. So the final Eastern Empire, which sort of extended to the west into Europe, the Soviet Union. Okay, so the Soviet Union, in my opinion, was an empire. You could say like it wasn't an empire, it was like a union of countries for like communism, or like, okay, it was an empire to me. And I think if I remember correctly, I read last night, Poland was not a part of the Soviet Union, but was heavily under the influence of the Soviet Union. Okay, give me 1 second and I'll get to the final topic in a moment, which is a story from when I was at UCLA. I'll be right back. Okay, now I'm back. The diabetes, the type 2 diabetes, is slowly eating away at my life. So sorry for the break, but yes, okay, not yes. Yes, back to the fourth topic of the video, which is, okay, so I feel like I'm getting deja vu. I feel like I always do, because I have such a bad memory. I repeat things a lot, like, and I realize like afterward, and it's embarrassing. But so if I'm repeating from like a different video, sorry, but just to bring up 3 different topics which I found very interesting, or like stories from when I was an undergrad at UCLA. and I'll stick with one of them and tell the story. But I really, not that I think it was like good because it was like war and there was like obviously killing or like destruction of lives, but and I don't like the idea of like a bunch of like adultery happening, those sort of things, like wives being like taken off into slavery or like into like a new marriage or whatever. I don't like those sort of things. But so Hannibal of Carthage riding on the elephants, I guess, like was it across Gibraltar and like across the Alps and towards Italy, and then like the Romans had burned Carthage to the ground in the Punic Wars before he could get there, and then he had to continue to ride to like I guess Armenia, and he had just totally lost because I guess strength punishes, speed kills. The strength of those like soldiers riding on elephants wasn't as great as the Roman Republic's speed at burning down Carthage and getting back in before Hannibal could do what had intended to. But anyways, so that's a single story I like, which I'll bring up in the future. I'll read again and I'll memorize. Another story was a professor I had mentioned like if there's like peace, what do I need Jeffrey for? Like me personally, in like one of the classes I was in, what do I need Jeffrey for? If there's like war, I need like, I'm fat now, but like I need like a linebacker like Jeffrey. I'm messing up the words, but if there's peace, I want women around me, which I thought was funny. I don't know, I don't remember if I felt like ashamed or like embarrassed when he said the story, but later on, and there's something about like when I went to Budapest, because I've been to Budapest in Hungary, something he mentioned in office hours as well, which I thought was like really humorous. He was a really humorous professor. Many of my professors were, but yeah, that was like another story. But getting to the third story, which I think I've mentioned on the channel, but I'm leaving out like many stories because I had tremendous professors at UCLA, in a variety of like, I think like I mentioned in the previous recording of this same video, which I deleted, I think the like least desirable class, and this goes to show you just how amazing all the classes were, like all won't have been anything except great or like good. The like least useful and like least desirable and least fun classes were like about the Roman Republic and the early Roman Empire, which is like so important, at least for me. Some individuals might think like history or like what is the Roman Republic? To me, it was like very like Latin-based languages, or like languages from Latin are like the tip of the iceberg as far as how important ancient Rome was for my understanding, and this was like the least like important or like informative. So like I give like an A+ as like the worst grade if I were like giving a grade, not that I'm teaching, but if I were giving a grade to my classes, I give an A+ to like the worst of the classes. And I guess it's my like Middle Eastern stubbornness which made me not like easily learn about the Roman Republic and the Roman empires, the early Roman Empire, when they were still heavily in Italy, in Rome itself, as opposed to the east, like the Byzantine Empire. Anyways, so the story I wanted to bring up, which I believe I've brought up in the past, was a lesson for me, the way I interpreted the explanation by the professor. And I'm not sure this was his intention, could be unintentionally how I understood in my own mind, in my own psychology, in my own life experiences. But he talked about how, and I could be butchering this again, I keep saying butchering, but he talked about how like essentially Adolf Hitler's Nazi like military army was moving toward the east into the Soviet Union with very high quality tanks. And the Soviet Union was essentially losing ground like pretty rapidly. And one of the reasons that the Soviet Union, which allowed the Soviet Union to turn around Adolf Hitler and the Nazis, was they began, I believe, through forced labor to produce essentially 2 tanks for every 1 German tank. And the German tanks were higher quality. They were very useful for Blitzkrieg, lightning war, which helped them overrun, like, for example, France. If I guess they didn't get into the British Isles, but they were able to send then I guess V2 rockets into the United Kingdom. And the Blitzkrieg was also working, the lightning war was also working to the east. But what happened was these 2 tanks, these 2, like, not Russian, but sort of Russian, Soviet Union tanks, through forced labor, were enough to sort of stop, essentially, and turn around the eastward movement of the Nazis. And if I remember correctly, my professor had said, and he was among the professors who wrote a letter of recommendation for me for law school, which I used to get into, like, the 3 law schools which I attended. And he was saying that when you have the words might not be what he said, but because I have a bad memory, but if you have 2 tanks for every 1 really high quality German tank, the numbers just are too, like, strong against the Germans. Against the Nazis in World War II. And this was, like, a very large component of why the Eastern Front in World War II was turned around and moved. And obviously America, I'm an American, I was born here in the United States. But the United States later, because of President Roosevelt, was essentially able to convince America after Japan bombed Pearl Harbor, unfortunately, in Hawaii, to enter, I guess, war against the Asian theater, and then also, I guess, I think it was, like, first, if I remember correctly, first the Asian side of the conflict, and then with, like, the Japanese, and then into the European theater. But eventually, because there was the Holocaust going on, and there were many different individuals, not only the Jews, though very many Jews, but we're talking, I think, tens of millions of humans on the Axis and the Allied side died. I think, I'm not sure if it crossed, like, 100 million in terms of the numbers I had heard. Like, they died from, like, direct conflict or because of, like, I guess, loss of life associated with war. But very, very high numbers were, like, killed or, like, died as a result of war. And yeah, I think I guess those 2 tanks, instead of being, like, perfectionists, let's make a better tank, those 2 tanks for every 1 German tank brought the time down in which the Nazis were able to continue warfare, because they were getting forced not backward, but they were forced to retreat somewhat. And the Soviet Union was able to expand backward, I keep saying backward, were able to expand westward, and eventually make it to, I guess it was Berlin, I guess, because the Berlin Wall is what happened, with the English and the British and the Americans, especially arriving to the east from the west. Anyways, and I guess, like, southward. So the story, I bring up the story because, when I bring up these stories, I want to bring up what they mean to me, like what the meaning is to me as an individual. I tend to, when I start something, I either want to be, like, perfect and, like, undefeated at, like, the thing, or, like, exactly what I want in my mind when I envision what the process is, or, like, I don't want to do it at all. And I lose so much of my life like this, but, or I just, like, want to take things slowly, and, like, with, like, YouTube videos, at first I was like, no, let me try to make, like, 1 really good video, and I'm like, okay, whether they're good or they're bad, or, like, they're, like, horrible or terrible or whatever, or whatever. Now I'm like, let me just make, like, those 2 those 2 tanks, those 2 Soviet Union tanks for every 1, which the Nazis are capable to produce, even if they're not as high quality. Let me make, like, 4,000 videos, and then I'll reassess what the situation is. I don't want to be like, okay, well, I made like 100 videos and then, or like different things in life. But not only YouTube, but I made like 100 videos or like 200 videos and I got like such and such response. Instead of that, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna like produce like 4,000 of these videos and just drive my own internal demons backward, or like make them retreat instead of me retreating. So anyways, I wanted to bring up these 4 topics partially so you could think about them if you'd like, and if not, for my own understanding and learning and moving forward in life. So I'll refer back to this video, and I plan to read like on Wikipedia and sit and think, or like stand and think. I've been standing a lot. So, or like stand and think, walk around and think, jog and run, and like build my body and also build my mind. Yeah, so I'll bring up the topics again in different videos, and this isn't the limit of what I'm interested in, but I brought up, I guess, 4 different groups of what I'd like to discuss. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys, I guess, soon, because I'm making those like 4,000 tank videos. See you. Bye.